It all started on November 30th, 2022, when ChatGPT was released. And now, not even 2 months later, Microsoft and Google are battling it out to get real conversational AI into search. But while everyone is focused on who will win this AI battle, it doesn't really matter. Because whichever way it goes, this AI war is going to completely change the delicate balance of how the internet itself works. And this might also end up killing the concept of a website as we know it. There are 3 key things that could play out and shape how we'll use the web in the next 10 to 20 years. But to understand what's going to happen in the future, we first have to look at how things are today. Websites are what started it all. 20 years ago, they were blobs of information and content, mostly in text form, and mostly independent. They were not motivated by money, but by passion for a specific topic, and by people wanting to carve out their own little space in this new thing called the World Wide Web. But finding things was the really painful part. You really had to know the websites you were after, and this is where search engines came in. First, they tried to organize with mass by categories, and finally Google cracked the code of proper search. Then, in December of 2000, they launched AdWords, and ads started to appear in Google search results. And with that, website owners and businesses started to realize that this is not a fun digital game anymore. It's very real money with very real economics. Having traffic coming to your website was not just bragging rights with your friends anymore. And as the amount of people that started to explore the web from a search engine grew, a silent pact, a silent alliance was formed that is the real engine to the internet all the way to today. Websites would allow search engines to get their content for free and indicize it, and search engines would send them users and traffic. This innocent-looking silent agreement is what gave birth to the modern web. With all the websites, also newspapers and journalists follow suit, maybe reluctantly sometimes. But with time, this silent agreement has been taken to the extreme. Websites realized that they could game the system by stuffing more keywords into their articles and blog posts or farming backlinks. They learned that they could churn out more and more content just to appeal to specific keywords. And the more they did that, the more Google and search engine would send them more and more traffic. And this would rank them higher and make them more money. And voila, search engine optimization, or SEO, is born. And while this was happening, search engines were making more money than ever. In the meantime, independent websites found even another way to monetize their traffic: affiliate links. You can now write an article about, say, top 10 TVs to buy right now and get a percentage when someone buys from an e-commerce store using your link. And this is basically how the web works today. But the smartest one of you will already have found out the big problem. This system fully relies on this one link right here, this silent agreement, traffic for access to content. This one agreement represents billions of dollars in revenue, thousands of companies, and hundreds of thousands of jobs. And AI search chatbots are about to turn this balance upside down. It doesn't really matter if it's Google or Bing or Yahoo. Yeah, no, it's not gonna be Yahoo. Come out with their own disruptive AI. Things are about to change. It's clear that conversational AI is not a gimmick, it's not a fad, it's here to stay. ChatGPT was the fastest piece of tech to reach 100 million users, and this is a signal that the technology will become a key part of our lives. But trying to understand something so seemingly complex like AI can definitely be overwhelming. Where do you even start? And that's why this video is sponsored by Brilliant. Everyone likes to throw around AI as a buzzword these days, but the ones that will be able to ride this wave are those who really understand how artificial intelligence works at its core. And Brilliant.org is the best way to learn about it. I've already taken the artificial neural networks and reinforcement learning courses to really understand what is going on at the heart of this technology. And since we are talking about search, why not learn how search engines really work with the search engine course? What I like most about Brilliant is that I'm finally able to fit learning into my day, even though I have a full-time job and I manage a YouTube channel, because it is perfect for people with a busy schedule. If you follow my channel, you are probably as excited and as optimistic as I am about technology and science. If you use my link in the description, the first 200 people to sign up will get 20% of their annual premium subscription and get 1 month for free. And now, back to the video. Now, let's be clear. I don't know what is gonna happen right now. And if I did, I would be probably very rich very soon. I would buy 42 jet skis and some island in Maldives. But there are 3 possible things that can change on the horizon. And the first one is that AI goes all in on websites. As the new Bing is being rolled out, it has been blowing people's minds with its ability to understand complex problems and give a detailed solution on how to solve them. Now, both Google and Bing are planning to integrate these chatbots alongside the traditional list of blue links. But it probably won't be long until people start to realize how easy it is to use the chatbot experience rather than browsing through a bunch of links. And so with this, traditional search results will start to get less and less clicks. And as I work in tech, I can assure you that usage data is one of the main things that tech companies look at when they take product decisions. If people naturally shift away from the list of blue links, it's only a matter of time before the big bosses at search engine companies will just decide to get the chatbot front and center and outright remove the list of links that we all have been used to. And the way we all explore the internet will change radically. Websites will go from the place you ended up getting the information you were looking for to something like the footnotes of Wikipedia, something most people rarely even look at. And with this, the balance that has been keeping traditional websites alive until now will simply fall apart. If the chatbot is giving you all the answers you need, why would you want to visit an ad-ridden website to get some generic SEO-optimized blog post? Traffic to these kinds of informational websites will drop dramatically, and there will be no incentives for them to keep publishing content. The engine of the web will stop, because this is all about basic game theory. If websites stop giving search engines content, search engines will just not have any relevant information to show, and they will stop getting advertising revenue. On the other hand, if search engines stop sending traffic to websites, they don't have anyone watching ads and clicking affiliate links, and they will also fade into obscurity. If the balance is broken, everybody loses. And to keep this balance, search engines like Google or Bing or whoever will first of all need to find a way to monetize AI chatbots. And one of the best ways they could do this is by injecting ads contextually into the response. The more an ad is integrated into organic search results, the better it will work. And we know it's gonna work because that's what Google did 20 years ago. Before Google, search engines showed random banner ads on the side of results. Google was the first one to have the idea to introduce contextual advertising in the search results themselves. Another way to potentially monetize these chatbots would be to make them paid or with a subscription. The search engine Niva is already going into this direction, because having a powerful AI assistant like ChatGPT for your daily work can really increase your productivity and actually justify the cost. And even more for companies that will want to get these AI chatbots for all their employees. So now that these AI chatbots have found a way to make money, they still need to make sure they have valuable and up-to-date information to show users. And since in this new future there will be no real incentives for websites to produce any content, search engine could start to directly pay the creator of an article or of a web page based on how much that piece of content has been used by an AI to provide an answer. And this is because of a key difference that the new AI search models have with things like ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a monolithic AI model trained on a large dataset of information from the web. And training this kind of model takes an enormous amount of computing power. So it will be basically impossible to keep the model itself up to date with the latest information that happened 5 minutes ago or the news that broke out an hour ago. And this is why the Bing chatbot works differently. They are using a not super up-to-date but quite smart base model to understand the language. And then they instruct this AI model to make the needed web searches to answer a question, understand what's in the search results, and spit out the answer. So for each search, we can clearly identify which websites provided the information to answer the question. And in this way, they could each be compensated a tiny fraction of a cent. But if this ends up happening, it will be most likely the death of traditional SEO. Why would you go to great lengths to create a whole website when in the end it's gonna be just read by an AI to produce some answer in a chatbot? And so new ways of giving information to these AI models to get them compensated will emerge, like marketplaces or even APIs, where people would not even bother to build a website. They can just transfer the information directly to the AI model via an API and then get compensated based on how many people will end up using that information for the search results. And this will change search engine optimization into something more like AI feeding optimization. AIFO? I don't know. But will it really be this extreme? Because there is also a possibility that this old world and this new world will just coexist. In an interview with The Verge, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella was asked this exact same question. And this is what he had to say.
You've trained the model on other people's information, other people's reporting, and be biased in favor of reporting. How do you make sure that they get the value back?
If you look at whether it's in the answer, whether it's in chat, these are just a different way to represent the 10 blue links, more in the context of what the user wants.
And he actually may be right. The way this new Bing is designed heavily features links to the source material and is inviting you to learn more about what the AI is suggesting you by clicking on the links. They have clickable links inside the response, and people would still end up exploring websites once they complete a search with the AI chatbot. Don't forget that Google had this box already, where they showed a preview of the content of relevant information. This is what is called a zero-click search. So it might actually be that while people start to use these AI chatbots, they might not completely overhaul the mechanics of the web, but just changing them slightly. So in one example from Microsoft Keynote, they asked the AI to plan a vacation in Spain, and it spit out a detailed day-to-day plan of what you should see, where you should go, where you should stay. Now, would you just take the first plane and just have that exact same trip without doing any additional research? No, you will probably take that as a starting point and then go ahead and learn more on different websites and watch videos. If I have a complex problem, instead of starting from scratch, I can ask ChatGPT to lay out a basic solution, and then I can iterate from there and review what he has done. And this means that people would probably not just stop going to websites completely, they would still do it. But maybe instead of visiting 9 or 10 websites to solve a complex problem, you might end up needing just 1 or 2. And also, for the time being, AI in many cases is just completely wrong. While Google took most of the blow and lost 100 billion in market cap, as one of their promotional tweets for their model Bard showed an error in a sentence, Microsoft is also suffering from the same problem. It didn't get the same attention in the media. In the demo, they asked Bing to compare the financials of the Gap company versus another one. And when people actually checked the numbers, it turns out some of them are completely made up. But it's still clear that even if websites do not disappear, many would still see the traffic from search fizzle out over time. And while in the beginning AI search engines might get away with not paying content creators for the information, eventually they will still have to find a way to compensate the people that are generating the content. And so the first thing that could happen is that this is finally the time where we move away from websites and go all in into platforms. I don't know about you, but when I have a problem or need any kind of information, if it's not a Google search, I'll just browse videos on YouTube. If I need more obscure answers and see what people are discussing, I'll look at Reddit. Twitter gets me all the rapid-fire rants about topics I care about. And if I want to read some articles, I go on Substack or Medium. Aside of search, these are the gateways to the internet that most people use. Because like it or not, online platforms simply work. They each have their own rules and controversies and pros and cons, but they allow people to independently create content. And so what could happen is that all the people and websites that were spending their time and effort making SEO optimized content for search will end up transitioning to other platforms. In my opinion, the SEO model was broken from the start, and it just led to piles of bad information reposted all over again in a competition to rank the highest on Google. And AI search chatbots could finally be a way to bridge the gap between search and online platforms. Today, when you search for something on Google or Bing, the integration with platforms like Reddit, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, or any of those is just bad. And this is because these platforms never had much interest in opening up their content library completely to search engines. In the best case, they would get some extra traffic here and there, but that is up until now. If AI chatbots not only start to interpret just text, but are able to interpret also the content of a YouTube video in the future and contextualize it with an article from Medium and someone to follow on Instagram and a Twitter thread, the platforms will have more incentives to open up older content and make it more available to search engines to put it out in front of users when they are making AI chatbot searches. And this can also represent a new renaissance of user-generated content. Slowly but surely, platforms are realizing that to thrive, they need to pass down advertising revenue to creators, just like YouTube has been doing for years. TikTok is starting to monetize more heavily, and platforms like Substack or Medium allow you to monetize directly the content that you create. Because traditional information websites are losing the battle with user-generated content, and AI will accelerate this even more. So what do I believe will happen exactly? I don't really know, but there's someone whose opinion I really wanted to hear, and this is David Imel. He's one of the writers behind MKBHD's videos, co-host of the Waveform podcast, and was also a writer for Android Authority.
So I think it's still pretty early days in the way that AI is going to be affecting search engines, and I'm not sure that anyone has really come up with the greatest version of how that's going to work yet anyway, right? Like Bing is still the first implementation of how this is going to work. Whether or not Google integrates it directly into Google search or has a separate option for Bard, we still don't really know that yet. I think ultimately there is that feedback loop problem where if websites stop making content because everyone is using these chatbots to get information, there's going to be nothing for these chatbots to scrape from. But I personally think that there's going to be less of an impact on the way that the web actually works than we think there is, right? We already sort of have chatbots based in Google search already. If you search pretty much anything super basic, it gives you a direct answer at the very top. We still already use things like Google Assistant, which give us pretty instantaneous answers on things, or even say based on Wikipedia XYZ, right? It's really only the more nuanced questions that these chatbots are starting to give us answers for. And I think that most people who want to do their own research and have more of an interest in a thing that isn't just a what's the capital of Japan are probably going to be digging into those links to do more research anyway. So while it's useful for these chatbots to be giving us these like broader answers in paragraph form, I'm not sure about the speed of adoption, and I think that there's going to be a large period of time where the market matures and things actually change and people figure out how we're going to use this before we see some sort of like collapse of the internet or anything like that.
David also makes incredibly interesting tech videos on his YouTube channel, so make sure to check him out. And while all of this unfolds, what you can do is subscribe to my channel. And here is another video that you might enjoy.